Hi, everybody. It's the A to Z Podcast. I'm Zach Jackson. He's Andre Knott. A to Z Podcast.com, Facebook.com/A to Z Podcast. We're at Dre Knott and at Akron Jackson on Twitter, on Instagram, on all that funky stuff. We know what everybody wants to talk about today, Dre, and then we know what kind of captivated Northeast Ohio and beyond, obviously, on Sunday night, and that was the Pitbull concert down at Fawcett Stadium.
Yeah. I mean, 30. Was it 503? Was it 503?
305.
305. I knew you do it. I sent you. I knew you do it.
I can't believe that's a thing. I thought he was just like a DJ who randomly showed up on bad commercials. He does concerts and people go to them.
We're in a different world, different stuff. I know people that down in Miami. He does the New Year's thing every year. He has just enough songs that old white people like him and old black people kind of like him. And it's really not for kids. He really isn't. It's kind of like it's pop music now. He's done pop music. He's not like a rapper, hardcore rapper. God bless him though. He was founded by Luke from 2 Live Crew. He used to work in the back of a restaurant in Miami, and now he sells out Fawcett Stadium on a Sunday night and takes over the world. The 305.
Well, I think his explanation there just summed up kind of what we do on this podcast. And given the nature of events, maybe we have some new folks. Hopefully we do. Welcome to you guys. It's Honeymoon Grill in Akron. It's Cleveland Scene and our friends at American Fireworks on Route 91 in Hudson, AmericanFireworks.com that make this happen. But we really believe it's you guys that help it grow. And through all the marketing and the different things we've done, I think the best thing you can do is tell a friend to listen. So those of you who are listening, whether a friend told you, or whether LeBron Mania brought you here, or whether some other reason, we're glad to have you here. We do this. We don't follow a script. We occasionally say bad words, so we like to give that disclaimer in case there's kids around, in case you're easily offended, or if you're in a work environment, because we don't want anybody to get in trouble for listening to A to Z. Because Andre travels for baseball, because I have a full-time job also, sometimes we don't do them in a week like we did last week. And Dre, now that the decision is in, I don't think that was a terrible thing. It sucks that we miscommunicated one time and we couldn't catch each other the other, but there's only so much we could analyze for a decision that now in retrospect was clearly made long ago, right? And I'm surprised. I'm not shocked, although, the mounting evidence lessened that surprise. LeBron is his own man. All sports fans and anybody involved with sports in Northeast Ohio on any level owes him a debt of gratitude. It's been incredible. He remains the best player in the world. There are elements to this that puzzle me. There is a little level of disappointment. There's not near the vitriol, the hate, the presentation. Everything was different than the first time around. So I remain cool with it. I got some questions, and it's not like there was ever going to be no angst, no anger, no feeling of did you sell us a bill of goods to an extent back in 2014. So you'll say this. You'll say this better than I will. So I'm going to stop rambling. That was what I'm trying to say.
All right, let me, because everybody, we all have our own feelings, and we all have our right to our own feelings. I saw a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, tweeted something out that was very, very apropos and very dead on in my mind. And I have look. You just read the opening of his school a week ago, which is more important than anything he's ever going to do in a basketball court. I hate that we've made. I get the importance of what sports are to people, and I get they take us away from our everyday lives. And a lot of people in our everyday lives, we deal with a lot of stuff that's tough, whether it be dealing with your own children, dealing with family situations, dealing with the job you don't like, or just dealing with the life that you didn't map out to make, to go the way that you want to go. A lot of people have that issue and are going through that. And sports is a way to get you away from that everyday struggle that is life. Now, in saying that, my buddy Louis tweeted out, the relationship between LeBron and the Cavs is very much like that relationship where one person just won't commit long-term with the other for whatever reason. And once you get to a certain part and you don't want to commit long-term, then it's probably best that we all do just move on and we go on to do something else, because you're not helping either side by continuing the dysfunction of that relationship. The first thing that I'll say is this deal. This is obvious, and it's okay to me. This has been in the workings, or this has been done for a very long time. LeBron obviously didn't want to finish his career with the Cavs, and we can all go into why. There's going to be a lot of talk about Dan Gilbert. There's going to be a lot of talk about his way of life, his way of doing things. But the one thing I've taken from this and just kind of knowing things, I mean, and this isn't a brag, this is a pat on the back. I had somebody pretty close to the situation tell me this was going to happen 2 months ago, and I told Zach. So Zach and I have known, but we didn't. It still was a little shocking because I still want to talk about how I found out and how you found out, where you were at, because obviously in my lifetime, I'm gonna remember the decision in 2010. I'm gonna remember all the decisions of where I was at. But last night I was on the team bus right after the Indians and the Oakland A's, and I tell Tito and I tell a couple of our coaches, and it was, and, we're stuck, and I'm with a bunch of players. And you've been on that same bus trip that I've been on, Zach, from the Oakland Coliseum to the Oakland Airport. Not a long one, but man, we don't have any TV, and it's just all of us, kind of deciphering what happened. The main thing I'll say is this: LeBron, Ramon James would rather learn business and how to run LA and how to run the world like Magic Johnson than learn how to run the world and be a businessman from Dan Gilbert. I think it's that simple. I don't think it's really about basketball nearly. I don't know what LeBron even has left basketball-wise. God bless him for playing 100-plus games last year. I thought it was ridiculous. But the one thing I look at today, he truly gave – there's not one thing – anybody that's on any radio station, any television station, anywhere, any podcast that wants to – because last time he left, it was you question what happened in the Celtics series. You question his elbow injury. You question this. You question, did he quit? And if you listen to this podcast, I've always said you got to be careful questioning athletes and quitting, because quitting is, accusing someone of quitting in their job is just an unfair thing unless you know for sure that they quit. You can't say that in any realm this time around for LeBron James. He gave everything he had, played in every single game on a roster that didn't really fit him or fit his talent, whether it be the Kyrie Irving move, whether it be letting the GM go, whether you talk about, signing J.R. Smith to the deal they did. Some would say, well, LeBron pressured him into that. For whatever reason, they did not give him a team that he could retire with. And I think that was pretty obvious. And if you really open your eyes today, it's pretty obvious watching them play. That wasn't a team that he could just hand off to Kyrie like he said he was going to hand off to. Remember that? Like, that was his whole – so we should have known a year ago when Kyrie got traded, LeBron was gone. Because this wasn't the setup that he said he'd wanted all along.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Trey. And I mean, part of the deal with him, even when he came back with the grand gesture and the great letter and all of that, was he was signing 1+1s. He was holding the leverage, right? And as I've always said, it is not ideal in any organization, any business, any level, anything, to give one guy that much power, right? Because it just makes it uncomfortable for all of those involved, and you don't know.
No one man should have all that power.
But as I quickly said every time we've said that, right? Tell me what Plan B was. Plan B did involve a parade, right? Plan B did involve 4 straight finals and memories that will last a lifetime, and LeBron getting to come home and making that one promise that outweighs everything else, and that's to deliver the title, and him doing it and standing and screaming into that microphone, Cleveland, this is for you, right? Cleveland!
Well, and to go deeper than that, I mean, and I think I want to say, because I saw so much different stuff on Twitter, and then I just stopped looking because there's so many dumb people on Twitter. I think Ben Axelrod said, I don't know if it was Ben, but somebody said to the point, and you and I had this discussion, I would love to find that podcast from right after they won, that you and I did. Man, that's going to be one of the biggest Father's Days of my whole life. I did a baseball game that day. I come home, I'm with my dad, my wife, my kids. I'll never forget. It was one of the best days of my life. The day they had won a championship is something that I'll never forget.
Sure.
It's one of the best days of my entire life.
Yes.
And there's only so many days that you can say that you'll never forget this day, where you were at, and what you were doing.
That's right.
He gave us that, and he didn't just give us that. But I just go back to like this, and you and I kind of said this when the Kyrie thing happened. Whatever happened with Kyrie and the Cleveland Cavaliers, and with the GM, it changed the world. It changed where we were. It changed our situation tremendously, and we knew it, and we didn't want to believe it because I get where you're coming from. We can all go off the little statements he made when he came back, and he said, "Well, this is my home. I don't want to go through free agency ever again. I'm too tired for this." I can look at all those quotes and say, "Yeah, he did say that." But at the same time, that is not how the hell he can't carry a team the way he carried a team last year for 4 more years or for another year. And I'll go further. I want to say this: with how they've handled their situation, whether it be with not being able to keep the same GM, whether it be with not being able to keep Kyrie. Would you sign a long-term? And he basically did. Would you sign a long-term deal with that team?
No.
If you had the power, if you had the power that he has, why would you?
Right. No, I don't have any problem with how he handled that part of it. Here's why I say that I wasn't totally convinced. Although the Kyrie thing was obviously bad sign, bad vibes, bad deal, bad all around. Just because, Dre, when this decision was laid out, and it has been starting to present itself in front of us for almost a year now, right? The Kyrie stuff started 50 or 49 weeks ago as we sit here on July 2nd, right?
Yes.
So there was just so many more layers to this. LeBron the legacy, LeBron the family man, LeBron the king and savior of Akron, in addition to the NBA and the Cavaliers and all of those things. And just even in recent weeks, as we talked about this, microphones on, microphones off, we said, okay, if it's a basketball decision, we understand. Like the Cavs, they've done what they can.
Right.
They don't have much flexibility. When Charlotte dumped Dwight Howard instead of Kemba Walker, I think that kind of ended that thought.
No doubt.
Went to the other things, but we said maybe this isn't a basketball decision. Maybe this is more about where he is and finishing where he started. And even if you tied the basketball back in, Dre, here's where it puzzles me. The Lakers stink. And LeBron is a basketball genius, and he, like I said, he doesn't have the best Rolodex in the world. He is the basketball Rolodex. So he's got Kawhi. He's got something cooked up. I mean, he in a year is going to be playing with Kawhi and either Boogie or Anthony Davis. That you can't convince me that this is not already set up to some level, to some extent.
I know it is.
Right.
It is. No doubt.
But what I'm saying is, I thought this year, 2017-18, where he insisted on playing all 82, they went through all the drama, even by LeBron standards, even by Cavs standards. They went through all the drama. He got them back to the finals. He played at a level that left every logical person, and that doesn't include the voters, knowing that he was the MVP of the NBA. And when he got that team through the playoffs and beat Boston in Game 7 and got back to the finals for the 8th straight year, I thought this was one of his greatest accomplishments, right? And as I've long said, I don't want to hear LeBron versus Jordan, and LeBron doesn't want to either. I don't want to hear that LeBron's lost in the finals, then got swept in the finals and all of that, because that is so much different. That is comparing apples and oranges. However, by leaving the Cavs and leaving this comfort zone and going to LA, the upside is you can be the guy that saved the Lakers. You can hang another banner for the Lakers and bring them back. But the truth is, for all this stuff that he can't control, all the discussions that I just mentioned, if they don't win, and I don't see how they do, at least for another year, that he deserves all the shit that he's going to get because of who he is and the pedestal that he's on.
Well, I agree with the beginning, don't understand the middle, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I think you're right. This decision he is a basketball genius, and what's going to happen is going to happen. But I think he's a genius to know that the Cavaliers, as stated, Nazar, we're going to have trouble getting out of the East next year because Boston is going to be a bear. Indiana has a chance to be a bear. I just see other teams. Toronto, I don't know what the hell Toronto will be. I don't think that matters as much. I think I really believe, and I'm stating it, and I've had a conversation with someone else. This is all about the next phase of LeBron's life, and it ain't about all about basketball. And to him, Magic Johnson, people can say whatever they want. And this is, if you know the Lakers history, there's a Jeff Pearlman, who writes for The Athletic, has a great book about the Lakers and Magic Johnson. It's called Showtime, I believe. I gave it to Matt Underwood like a year ago or 6 months ago. And it's a fantastic read. And one of the things it talks about, I've talked to Jim Jones about this because Jim Jones was on that team, the beginning of that team. And I can't believe me reading something 4 years ago is coming up in this context, but thank God it is. And in Jeff Pearlman's book, where he talks about the Lakers and the process of drafting Magic Johnson, and how their owner, who's passed away, Dr. Buss, who wasn't even a doctor, he coined himself a doctor. That's pimping right there. Remember that. You can just say that's pimping. When you can say I'm a doctor and put Dr. Buss and then go to school for it, and in LA they call you that, that's pimping. That's a lesson for you kids. But he took Magic Johnson. I'm trying to look at this differently because when he went to Miami, that was like going to college to figure out how to win. He got a class from Pat Riley and how winning organizations run, how you go about doing business, how you go about being a true winner. No one taught him that in Cleveland, and I'm not bashing Cleveland. Cleveland is my home. Like that, those are my home teams. But let's be realistic in this. So in the book, if Jeff Pearlman with this book, hell, we should get him as a guest if you could. Even though I know some people aren't crazy about him, but he's written some unbelievable books about the Mets in '86. This book on Showtime, Walter Payton's book.
Oh,
is
Jeff's
unbelievable.
an incredibly gifted writer. Yes,
incredibly gifted. But one of the things he talks about in the Showtime book was how when Magic Johnson was drafted at 19 years old, 20 years old, Dr. Buss, not a doctor, but a doctor, basically took Magic under his wing. And when I say under his wing, there's a lot of talk how he would take him to the Playboy mansion. He had his own little Playboy situation at the Forum Arena, but he also took Magic around LA to meet all the business people because Magic said he wanted to be the greatest businessman ever. He told Dr. Buss, I want to be like you. I want to be able to, I want to be a businessman when I'm done playing. So therefore, Dr. Buss heard that out and he saw that he meant it, and he helped make him into a great businessman by taking him around LA and introducing Magic to all the people he needed to know in every certain way so he could become the businessman he wants to become. So I fast forward this 30 years, and Magic Johnson sits down with LeBron James a couple nights ago in his house, and they talk for 3 hours, and Magic Johnson basically gives the same lines that he was given back in 1979, 1980. If you're LeBron James, and this is where you're at in life, and you can be in LA, and we always talk about movies, this, and we've talked about, well, he can do commercials in Cleveland, and from Akron, and he can do movies from Akron, and he has. I don't know what his goal is business-wise, but if you want to be a billionaire, and you want to make a ton of money, and you want to own teams, who would you rather look up to and trust? Is Magic Johnson or Dan Gilbert? And I think it's pretty simple and pretty easy. I think most of us would say, and this is no heat towards Dan Gilbert. I think most of us would look at Magic Johnson and would be like, this is the cooler route that I'd want to go. I don't think it's about basketball. I just in talking, I think because he's not going to win the West next year. He's not winning He's not winning the West. That team is no matter who they get, whatever they got planned, and they got their plans, they got their ideas. They're going to get better, and they'll get in the playoffs. But man, the West is a bear. If Anthony Davis stays in New Orleans, they're going to be a bitch. Houston's going to be a bitch. Golden State's going to be a bitch. Portland's going to be a bitch. Like, if you go as is right now, yeah, you got LeBron, and who knows how everything will work out. And maybe Ball turns into a fabulous point guard, and Kuzma looks like he could be a great scorer. Ingram looks like he could be a great scorer, but he's skinnier than my left leg. Okay, that's a lot of ifs. They still are going to be a bear to get out of the first round of the playoffs in the West. If he's the basketball savant that we all truly know that he is, this ain't all about basketball, people. This is about where LeBron James will be at 40 years old and what he'll be. Will he have his own Starbucks and movie theaters in Randall Park Mall? I doubt it. Randall Park Mall got shot up.
Magic had a theater there once. I went to it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Not arguing with any of that. But let me ask you a question, and I want a one-word answer. Okay.
Okay.
Would LeBron at 40 years old be absolutely dominant in the business world, whether he spends the next 5 years in Sacramento, LA, Atlanta, Brooklyn, or Kazakhstan?
Yes.
Okay. So then let me ask you this question, and this I think.
Let me ask one back though.
Okay.
What's the realm of? He's going to be. Because this is he has to know he's not going to be the same basketball player in 2 years that he's been his whole life, right?
Okay, but let me ask you this about paths, all right? Because we know the East. Yes, the East is getting better. I mean, Boston and Philly are growing up before our eyes, right? But let me ask you this. This is a likely scenario. The very bored, very tired, very uninterested Golden State Warriors jog through the regular season and finish with the third seed in the West because, like the last three Cavs teams, they don't just give a darn, right?
Nope.
And the try-hard, misfit, Lance Stevenson, JaVale McGee, Los Angeles Lakers finish with the sixth seed, and LeBron goes home in the first round down 4-1.
You there?
Yeah. Sorry. So
Okay.
that was a bad time to get cut off. So LeBron, Lance, JaVale, and whoever else it is, and Lonzo Ball maybe not, go down 4-1 in the first round of Golden State next year in a 3-6 matchup. Does LeBron feel like he made the right move?
You got to ask Savannah.
Well,
I don't know. I mean,
yes.
Well,
yes.
that's. I think he knows. That's my point, though. I think we're so caught up in, and we should be caught up in that. What else would we be caught up in? To me, and not knowing everything, the story's not that to him anymore. He's proven it by going to the finals 8 times in a row. See, Shaq made a great point, and when he said he should just say Cleveland, his legacy is his legacy. But I think that's the point of what he did. We're not changing what he did in Cleveland or Miami, regardless. He may not make the playoffs. I think at some point in time he wants to win one in LA, but I just think he's what else does he have to prove? We all admitted and all agreed he wasn't going to beat Golden State from Cleveland, right?
Well, you just said it. You just said what I was trying to say before. He has been not only has he proven it with his actions, but he said it with his words. What else do I have to prove basketball-wise? So I guess my question is, why go to a situation now where you have it all to prove again?
Well, because I think that's the motivation of any great athlete, number one.
Sure. And he has been motivated by that. I think Savannah was a magic word too, because look, this was set up. This was set up long ago by Magic, by LeBron. LeBron's boys, the agency that we all know, were clearly on board with it, right? We'll find out in the next month to 18 months who else already in the NBA was on board with it, right? And then, of course, Savannah and the boys, to some level, were on board with it. I just thought it was a step, and we'll see how it plays out from a basketball standpoint, combined with the fact that the business world is completely different than the one Magic Johnson entered in 1985. I just thought it was
true, but be careful with that, because the people that still make billions of dollars, they sit in way different rooms than you and I sit in.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
And Magic Johnson can get him in those rooms. Not that he couldn't get into them before, but I think we say that we don't. I'm admitting this as my wife's a business owner, and it's one of the conversations we constantly have. Is that if I need to help somebody like you and I, you've helped people get internships and jobs writing. Mm-hmm. You've helped people in our business grow. I've helped people in our business, in the world that we know, grow. Does that mean that the kids that we've helped or get a connection to this person or get an interview with this person, does this mean those people couldn't get those interviews or those connections if they never met us? They probably could, but we help that step in between to help get them there. And my wife and I talk about this in her business all the time. There are groups of people. She knows tons of nurses. She knows tons of people that work with kids that have special needs. But when you need a business, there's different leaps and bounds of people that know each other that help business happen. Is all I'm saying. So the Magic Johnson, to me, it's a low blow on the Magic Johnson thing because the business thing. Yeah, because he owned a ton of Starbucks and he became and look at the money he's made. He's owned the Dodgers. He's been a part owner for the Lakers. He knows people that LeBron doesn't know, whether it was 85, 95, or 2005.
Right.
He knows
I just
money
think,
people.
When Magic came up, him getting to LA you're right. I mean, you laid it out there perfectly. I'm not sure that needs to happen now because I've seen megastars come through Cleveland and Oklahoma City, right?
But we're talking. I get what you're saying, but it's not. It's different. Megastars, sure. He's not. He's trying to be something that no one else has ever been. He's trying to. Whether it happens or not, I don't know.
Yeah. Let me sum this up. I think there's a real chance that in 3 years, ESPN has a Sunday conversation where LeBron and Kobe both got their feet up, sitting poolside, cigars in their hand worth more than we're going to make this year, right? And both sporting their Lakers rings and talking about the different times and the different generations and how it's been passed along and how Kobe did what he did and LeBron brought Showtime. I think there's a chance that happens.
Right.
I'm just saying in the meantime, I think there's a greater chance it fails from a basketball standpoint and LeBron brings on unnecessary and extra scrutiny, much of which is unavoidable because of his greatness, right? And that legacy, which he, as we've mentioned and he has mentioned, he has nothing left to prove. I just think he left open another chapter of proving it. And maybe he will, because I'd be really stupid to doubt him, right?
Yeah, well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this real quick. what decision could he have made that he wouldn't be scrutinized?
Staying in Cleveland would have been the less, much the less on that end of thing, that spectrum.
But he still would have got. He still
gets it. Yes.
Because as you said, it's still the dysfunction of dysfunction. It's still the moodiness.
Well, let me say this, Dre.
The hating of it.
Well, I want to make sure I say this, and maybe this won't be super popular, but this is how I feel. Okay, I wrote the article last week about the school, and we know that this is his forever gift, and it is incredible, and it's one of many things. I mean, even if he didn't do the school and sign his name to the school, there's still 200 things and 20,000 people in Akron he's affected, right, positively.
Right.
However, I didn't like that he put with his quick little Instagram post following the press release. I didn't think that he needed to put the school in there because I don't think that you know what I'm saying? I don't think that he needed to say that. I think that's something that goes unsaid. That felt like a little bit of a reach to me.
Well, he's not always had the smartest PR people next to him.
I'm just saying that doesn't. I hope nobody takes that as diminishing the school project, the enormity of it, or what it is. And it certainly doesn't diminish any of the basketball thing. And like I said, he came with one mission to win one title, and he did. In the meantime, they got to 4 finals. They had all sorts of crazy success, and people will always remember that. You said it was one of the greatest days of your life. I will always remember it. I'm just saying the flip side is this affects lives and the economy in Northeast Ohio. And I just think, on the way out,
I'm going to go back to a line that we already said, though.
Yeah.
And this goes for everybody else. No one man should have all that power.
No, you're right.
It's not fair. It's not fair to put on one man what goes. Does it change our economy? Does it change what happens? Absolutely. Not fair, though, to put on one man to control that, to have that type of control over anybody or over any set of places. So I get to me, he came back. He did what he said he was going to do. How many athletes do that? Not very many.
Not very many.
To me, not very many. To me, so we can break down every little small component of what has happened over the last 24 hours, the last 24 months. And we can break down, well, he said this, he said this, and he didn't do this. At the end of the day, the guy said he was going to come back and he wanted to bring a championship back to Northeast Ohio. Mm-hmm. He did it. He made that choice to come back. Nobody forced him to come back. He did it against the thoughts of the group of people that were around him, the people that work for him and have names, quote unquote, because of him. All were against that move. All said, stay in Miami, go to LA then, go anywhere else. Don't you dare go back to Cleveland. Fuck Dan Gilbert. He was an asshole. He can't stand you. Your mom doesn't like you. You don't like him. Your family doesn't like him. And he came back for 4 years, and he gave the best 4 years that any of us have seen in Cleveland sports. At the end of the day, I don't agree with everything he's done. Why? Because he's a man, and every man has faults, and every man has issues, and no man is perfect. But I will give a guy props and give a kid props because he's done more for Akron and more for Cleveland than any athlete ever has or ever will, probably. And that's off the court. Nobody's perfect. So did he do everything perfect? No. And you can say that about what he did after the signing, and I see what you're saying. But does that really matter if over the next 5 years, 3,000 kids go to that school and get better schooling than anybody else?
It doesn't.
No,
Those things are completely independent. I'm just saying, I think he went out of his way on the way out to give a fuck you to Dan Gilbert, and that kind of went against it.
That doesn't. But once again, who's to say? Because I've had people say to me, he did try to stay. He was trying to get other players to come here. It wasn't working. We've known for anybody that's been around Dan Gilbert. We've known stuff. He never came back for Dan Gilbert. He came back for Northeast Ohio, and anything he does towards Dan Gilbert is not. And Dan Gilbert, again, congratulations. Thanks for letting your PR department write a nice story, nice letter. It came off the way it should have. It was
right. Everybody handled themselves like adults this time around, right? No
right.
question.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. But for you're not surprised the middle finger was thrown up to Dan Gilbert on the way out. If that was even the middle finger. We don't know exactly why, but look, do we all have our moments where we do something a little more childish than we should because we've let things build up over time and really get to us? I have to admit, at 40 years old, I have.
Well, sure, and he was 25 the last time he left, and I was thinking about that earlier. I mean, the way you handled an exit, right? The day you graduated high school, you probably wanted to come back with 2 middle fingers up and get after every kid and every teacher that spited you, right?
Absolutely.
And
right.
then 3 years ago, when you moved jobs, it was kind of like, hey, thanks, this was great, guys. Wish you all the best. Call me if you need anything, right? It was just you were in a totally different place in life. You understood you didn't benefit from burning bridges down on your way out as much as you want to,
for sure.
Because that's a human nature thing. It really is. Okay, 2 quick things.
And I had like $800. I had like $1,000 in the bank. He probably has about.
Yes.
I don't know.
And that's the
million.
thing. Yes, like his decisions are different, but there are layers to this that involved his family, his long-term goals, his short-term livelihood, his everything. You know that he is still a real human being, even though he doesn't come off like one, right? Even though he's marveled us for years he isn't one. There are human layers to this, and we'll see how this plays out.
Keep your thought process. What you're saying. I saw something on Twitter. I just want to say something.
Okay.
I know news stations make a big deal about banners and things of that nature. This is exactly why you don't canonize a person and throw up banners and shit like this. Put up banners and you put up trophies after a person retires. Because then because now, like, to me, like, the whole thing is, what are they going to do with the banner? Well, he didn't tell you to put it up there. And when you romanticize a human being, once again, the line of this, as you guys already know, one man should not have all that power.
Well, look,
and it's not all his fault.
Yeah. You just said it, but you outlined the LeBron conundrum because, of course, this is his greatness. This is his 2 stints, taking this organization to its greatest heights. This is his 2 stints as the hometown hero, the kid who was completely overhyped and lived up to it and surpassed it, right? Who did all these things, who came back as the conquering hero and conquered, and then made up his mind he was leaving, and we see where it goes from here. So 2 quick thoughts, and we will examine this more, and the Cavs have had time to examine this, so you hope that they're prepared. I mean, is full-on tank, just your gut feel, 30-second answer, is full-on tank the way to go?
Go ahead, repeat that, I'm sorry.
Is full-on tank the way to go for the Cavs right now, 2018?
Yeah, because they got to protect the 10th pick, despite Bill Simmons not knowing what's going on.
Yes.
Yeah, so you try to get a top 10 pick again. I mean, let's be realistic. How is the top team, if you're not Boston or LA, and I know that some people, that's peeling back a Band-Aid a day or two early on some people right now. It really isn't for me. Let me just say this. My thoughts go out to all the hardworking people that work for the Cavs, that are faceless in these moments, in these times, that have worked their ass off, that have won awards, that have gone out of their way to work extra hours and time and places. Yeah. And we all know Sabo is one of my best friends in life. He's like a brother to me. I think about those people more than I worry about Dan Gilbert or LeBron James or the players. Those people have worked their asses off and given a ton of their time away from their families. And their lives are going to be different. They still got jobs. They still are going to work. But, yeah, the tank job should be the result because, as you and I know and most of our smart listeners know, to become a champion in the NBA or to be a team that's relevant in the NBA, the only other time the Cavs were relevant was in the mid-'80s or whatever else when you had in early 90s. When they drafted Hot Rod Williams, made a trade for Larry Nance, drafted Mark Price, drafted Brad Daugherty. They had to be very shrewd, and they had to do it the right way. But the patience or lack of patience that we have in our day and times right now, can that happen again? I don't know. Dan Gilbert hasn't shown the patience in anything that he's ever done. God bless him. He owns half of Detroit and half of Cleveland. Yeah. Congrats. But you're going to have to show some patience. You're going to have to do this the right way because how did Milwaukee get as good as they did? They drafted the freak. How did a team like Philadelphia get to where they're at? Even though Philadelphia's a big time city, they drafted these guys.
They went full on tank and drafted these guys.
Full on tank, and they drafted these guys.
Yes.
That's pretty much the scenario that goes. Hopefully Sexton is one of the first pieces. But to get where they want to get back to, and to have to smell where, because I mean, let's be honest. Boston's about to go on a run like no other. Boston's about to be Boston and Philadelphia for the next 10 years. If, with health and everything falling in the right places. So, yeah, you asked, and that's my long answer. I don't even think it's a question, brother. I think you just start doing it. That doesn't mean you do it today. You can even start the season with Kevin Love. You can start the season with J.R. Smith. But as the season dwindles down and as you realize how bad you are, you better move these guys to teams quickly and go ahead and start losing those games. The other thing is, I just thought of this, and the Cavs are in a no-win situation, so I'm not going to bang on Kobe Altman. But when you saw that, when the paper went through, I won't say who, somebody said to me, and you think that trade with the Lakers is really worth it now at the trade deadline?
Well, yeah, it was, because they had to go for it.
Yeah, and it helped them get back. I'm just asking. You're right. It helped them get back to the finals.
I don't think there was any espionage there. I'm glad you brought that up. I don't think there was any espionage there. The Lakers were going to create that space one way or the other, right? You painted yourself into a corner with IT that you had to make that trade, the Lakers were going to clear that cap space. They just were. The Lakers have pointed for 2.5, 3 years now to these next 2 summers, right? And LeBron James was the apple of their eye, and they got him. And we'll see where that goes. It'll be really interesting from a basketball standpoint. Is
this good for basketball? I'm asking you.
I can't say that right now, Dre. I can't answer that one way or the other.
Okay.
Because it just feels like not a basketball move that makes a lot of sense, right? Yet at the same time, it feels really, really calculated, and we know LeBron is always working on something, and we know he's got these guys locked or close to locked, or he wouldn't have done this. So we'll see. I think on July 2nd is the time to talk about it and reflect on what was, and I think it'll be months, if not years, before we know if this A is good for basketball, and B, and if the Lakers, whatever they're going to become, can really get back to the top, because right now they're on the bottom side of the middle, and the team at the top has run laps around everybody else for a long time.
Here's the thing I'll say, and I kind of said this in our last thing. I think you're right. It's hard to calculate at this moment in time. But I will say this. For whatever reason, the NBA has always relied on the Lakers to have these type of moves, whether it be Shaq 25 years ago, whether it be how they were able to draft Magic Johnson despite already having a championship caliber team, George Mikan from Minnesota, when the team moved from Minnesota to L.A., Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Elgin Baylor. I mean, dude, all their stars, one way or the other, for the most part, have been drafted, been traded, or left through free agency to go to the Lakers. That's been the way of the NBA since Jerry West was put on was the logo. To me, that's insane, but it's true. Kobe Bryant. Kobe wasn't going to play for the Charlotte Hornets. Everybody knew it. Nobody would draft him. He only got drafted by the Hornets because they wanted Vlade Divac and his cigarette smoking. That's what these kids look it up. These things are all true. Like the Lakers, for whatever reason, and the Boston Celtics to a certain extent, have always in the NBA had the best players in the league get moved to them or traded to them or somehow or another pushed to them. And that's kind of how this league has resulted in things for whatever reason. So when I ask you that, it's just the league kind of doing what the league has always done. It just reaches us differently in 2018 because, well, the world is way different than when it was even when Shaq made this move from Orlando 25 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot to process with this, Dre. Like I said, I feel like I've been a little hard on LeBron because I don't, I kind of feel like I don't like the move. That's my gut feel, but we'll see. And I know it was calculated. I know it is calculated. Thank you for the time here, and we'll see what exactly he has cooked up because the basketball math doesn't add up. And the second thing about the banner, and I think you made a great point about just this is what you do and this is how it's been, and it causes some awkward moments, right?
For sure.
I'm only half kidding when I say this. If I was Jimmy Haslam, I would go full troll. I would not only buy the banner for my team and announcing that we're back and we run Cleveland again, but I would say something like, we promise the Browns will be back soon. I would go full troll on that. And I'm only half kidding when I say that.
That'd be pretty good.
Yeah, that's just my thought. Like I said, I've processed a lot of thoughts. I was in full chill mode last night. I was in full chill mode last night. I fired off. I didn't have to write a column. I fired off a couple of, smart-ass tweets. I heard from people in the basketball community. I heard from people that I know, through different relationships to LeBron and to Akron. People process it differently. I intentionally stayed away from radio, both national and local this morning. A, because I was legitimately working on other stuff, and B, I just wanted our thoughts when we talked to be our own. Maybe I'll go back and here's how I feel. Maybe I'll go back and listen to this and say I wish I'd have said this, or maybe this was early reaction. I'm going to say this. I fully thought that when we gathered here today to do this that there wouldn't be a decision, right? And I fully thought that we would go over some of the things and the thinking and knowing that the evidence had pointed to L.A. And whether they took that Philly meeting to appease somebody, whether that Cavs conference call was really 2 minutes or 20 minutes or 2 hours, I guess we'll never know, at least not for a long time. Whether the supposed discussion in the other weeks that had been rumored that LeBron laid out a wish list for the Cavs and, they weren't able to fulfill it or they were only able to fulfill part of it. I guess those answers will come out. But the truth is, Dre, it doesn't matter. He chose the next 3 or 4 years with the Los Angeles Lakers. It's a team that does not seem to be championship ready, but he obviously has a plan. And we'll see. It was an awesome, awesome time. Some of my best basketball memories involve this guy, and not necessarily in the NBA. Watching what he became in high school, watching the spectacle that it became when Deion Sanders and Shaq came to see him play, and all the hype got out of control, and he continued to live up to it, and all of those things, and then to watch him become the greatest player in the world. And literally, I had so much fun writing that story last week about me and you running into Maverick outside the jar. Remember that when he was on the phone and looking at us get away, and how all of that stuff went on, and it's just been incredible. I mean, LeBron James has been great for my career, and trust me, LeBron James don't know me personally, right? We have a lot of connections and whatever. I am not the only one. It's been awesome. It's been fun. It's taken me around the country.
Taking you to Vegas.
Covering the circus in Vegas will long be a top 5. Not just event that I've covered. But
you're right about that the rest of your life.
Yeah, incredible life experience. So, like I said, I just think here as I continue to ramble, maybe I'll feel differently. We'll let this play out. The natural skeptic in me and the critic who has a platform, right, and type it on the laptop and listen to the podcast and whatever else, will be watching skeptically. Now, I will gladly adjust my schedule and keep my fat ass awake to watch LeBron James play basketball because that's always been a pleasure. So we'll see. And it's not. I'm just saying, Dre, it's not about the regular season. For him to fully fulfill this, he has to win titles, and I'm gonna have to see plans B, C, D, steps 2, 3, 4, and beyond before I become a believer. Is what I'm saying.
Well, and I hear you, and you have that right, and I get it. But I will also say this. I don't know what he's got left at 33, 34, 35, 36 years old.
It's a fair question. It's a fair question.
With the mileage that he's put on. So I don't know if my assessment – I know what it was like when he left the last time. And I know it was difficult to watch at times, painful to watch at times. But it was painful because of the same things that you went through. I was covering him. I was doing his games on internet radio when he was showing up with toy Hummers because the OHSAA was taking away his eligibility.
Right. Well, he's always played by his own rules. You just made a great point there,
Right.
And,
yeah. I mean, I've been around this for a long time. I've heard the stories for a long time. I remember going to Cuyahoga Falls High School when he was 15 years old. Mike Muneer was the coach, and shout out to him and the people. This goes so far back for me that I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a late night NBA watcher anyway. I'm not going to say I'm going to be watching with skepticism, but I'm interested to see what this is going forward. And maybe the pressure of whatever happens in Cleveland, I think it ran its course. It was hard to watch them. Most of us that really watched the Cavs this year hated them most of the season, in the regular season.
Let me try to be succinct here for the first time on this podcast in one of the rare times in my life. In a what have you done for me lately world, I guess I have some questions now about how we'll remember the end of his incredible career.
Yes.
Let's get out of here on that note. Right?
That's perfect. Well, you said that perfectly. I got a couple other things I want to get out.
Okay.
That's the perfect way of saying it. We know most of the chapters of the LeBron James basketball career book have been written. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the last 4 chapters, 3 chapters, 5 chapters of his basketball career book have not been written, and you can't write them. I can't write them. Jeff Pearlman can't write them. And any one of your other favorite guys that puts a pen to the pad or now puts finger to a keyboard can't write them. LeBron motherfucking Ramon James gets to write them like he always has. He has that right. We have tons of friends in all kinds of businesses that have chose to live other places, work other places, do other things, just without the scrutiny that he's gone through and that he'll live through. He has his right. This is his right. This is where he wants his family to go. This is where he wants his family to be. And you ain't writing a story, and I ain't writing a story. It's that simple.
Yep.
And I mean, and his life, his whole life, he's rewritten things and done things that people told him he would never be able to do, and he's been successful in almost all of them. So God bless him. We go on about our life. Your job is going to be great. I'm still going to do great at my job. We're still going to hang out with our family. You're still going to be the king of Portage Lakes, and we go from there. Now, let me ask you this: a couple things I got to say. Shout out to my boy Kevin Jones out in San Francisco. Thank you for taking care of me on the Bay. It's always nice to see a person that you helped, the person that I helped, a guy that's from Washington, D.C. that we didn't know that well when he came to Cleveland. He took your former job with the Cleveland Browns, and when that didn't work out, I helped him a little bit, try to get out to San Francisco. He's doing really well in life. Hooked me up big time, just hanging out with him, saying it was good to see him. And also shout out to Joy Snyder. Shout out to Joy Snyder.
Sorry, I'm texting Dre as he talks. I'm getting him sacked.
It's the best. It is the best text ever. And shout out to Joy. She is absolutely hilarious on Twitter when it comes to talking about one of the morning shows back in Cleveland that I don't even listen to. I just read her tweets to keep up with at this point in time during the season. It was awesome to meet her. It was awesome to meet Indian fans that come out and support the Indians on the road. I hope to see the captain tonight here in Kansas City where it's 1,000,000 degrees. I'm pissed off that I'm in Kansas City for the 4th of July. It's one of my favorite holidays. But I might get some fireworks and blow shit up in Wadsworth on the 5th. You know where I'm going to get them from. He'll give you the plug on that in a second. I appreciate all you guys out there. I was told by a dickhead Twitter person a couple nights ago that maybe I shouldn't do the Indians, or we should do the Indians second, since he gets too wrapped up in his little emotions. You can kiss my ass. That's all I'll say to that. The Indians are what they are at this moment in time. They're up and down. I think the interest level is not there. But they're in Kansas City, and they're probably about to win 3 in a row and come home on a win streak and score a bunch of runs. And we should be excited when they get back on Friday. I know I will, because I'll just be happy to be home. Here's what I had to ask you. And I thought about this as I was on a plane yesterday. And I was reading something or I was watching something, and Jose Ramirez walked by, popped me in the head, like he always does, and told me what's up. Corey Kluber walked by carrying in a nice little case that you would get from like one of those nice little stores that my wife shops at, but I'm not allowed to go in. Had like 4 bottles. Had like 4 bottles of wine as he walked by me. Then Francisco Lindor walked by me like 10 minutes later, and he had these Italian cut boots on. He had like a $3,000 outfit on that I would never wear, but God bless him. And as this was all going on, and he looked at me, he said, "Damn," he goes, "This is for real, huh?" And I said, "Yep, Cleveland's now your world, son." And he looked at me and he like smiled, but it was like a surprise, like, "Don't put this on me." Who's the king of Cleveland's athletes as we go? That's the question I got to ask you. Who's the king of the throne now? Is it Baker? I take pictures with Tigers and get engaged in 9 months into my relationship, Mayfield? Is it the super watch smiling Francisco Lindor, who is a star, and it's gonna be tough? I don't even want to get into what he's gonna be here for 4 more years. I'll say that.
The door is open for the Cleveland Browns, but I think Frankie Lindor and Jose Ramirez have a chance to be Cleveland legends. And I would say this to LeBron's greatness: the Mount Rushmore thing is cliche. The Mount Rushmore thing is cliche to the point that the guys on Pardon My Take have made it hilarious, and they do it all the time. And it does make for decent discussion from time to time, depending on what you're talking about. I mean, Dre, when you do that in Cleveland, right, there's Jim Brown, who played before almost everybody listening to this was born. Mm-hmm. And there's LeBron, and then there's great debate. So that, first of all, that speaks to LeBron's greatness, that he's still in the prime of his career, still in the middle of his career, and he's cemented there. It was awesome. It's been awesome. On a personal level, I would have enjoyed watching LeBron Jr. play high school basketball. I really would have.
Yes, for sure. That bothers me. It hits me more than anything else at this. I wanted to watch LeBron Jr. at St. V. I did.
Yeah. So look, there's a lot to process here. Thank you guys for listening. Frankie Lindor and the Cleveland Browns, You're on the clock. American Fireworks. It's where to go, guys. I retweeted. I retweeted on Saturday a coupon, 50% off. They're good folks. I don't think you get the 50% discount if you go in there and you tell them you know A to Z, but they've been known to do it. AmericanFireworks.com. They're always open. It's easy to get to. It's right on 91 in Hudson. It's not far from the Turnpike. It's not far from 480. They are great folks. They are Cleveland sports fans just like you. Thanks to all you guys for listening. Facebook.com/A to Z podcast. Give us a like. And I look forward, Jerry, to us talking later in the week. A little more baseball, a little July 4th in general, and then once, kind of the 24-hour emotions have come off and maybe some more dominoes fall in the NBA, be real interested to see how we follow up on this discussion. So thank you.
I'm hungry. You said dominoes.
Enjoy that barbecue in KC, buddy. You're still living good.
I'm still living good. I can't wait to get home. I'm going to blow shit up. American Fireworks, I'm going to holler at you. I get back late, July 4th. I'm talking to you because I know you're listening. I might come through and I need more than 50% off of all the extra shit that you don't sell for the 4th of July. Like I said, I'm going to do a July trip.
You're such a gifted negotiator.
Hey, this is what I do, son.
So I learned last week that when American Fireworks does a show, right, that they basically, the pricing goes something like this. Like if you want to shoot it so high that your neighbors can see it, it's one price, and then you want to shoot it so high that the next block over can see it. It's up $500, and then 5 blocks over, it's $500. And when you shoot it way in the sky for one of these big ass shows, that's how it goes. So I was trying to come up with a joke that maybe you can get the short guy special, maybe just keep it on your own eye level. But you already maneuvered for your own discount, so I'm gonna let you work with that way.
Let me do my thing. Hey, I taught my kids on Easter. I do this with my wife for Valentine's Day. When you buy the chocolate the day after the holiday, it's usually 50%. 65% off. Why can't I do it with my fireworks? Hey, listen, you gotta have a plan in life, son. You gotta have a plan in life.
Absolutely. If you want to support the podcast, if you want to sponsor, if you have feedback, again, we're at Dre Knott and at Akron Jackson. You can email us too. You can find that rather easily. We do appreciate you guys listening, being patient with us when we can't do this, and telling us you're ready to hear us talk when big things happen. This was a big thing. We hope we were adults about it, and we'll see where it goes from here. He's Andre. I'm Zach. We'll see you next time on A to Z.
No one man should have all that power.
Konnichiwa, LeBron.